rumors among the big trees, among the agents, among the players and their representatives, among the people that are in that elite upper class. They hang out in games at suites and drink champagne. They think Sean McVay's out. They actually think Matt Stafford may be out in L.A. But Stafford a couple days ago said, I'm in, regardless of what happens to Sean McVay. So the Sean McVay story is very interesting. Very rarely do we find a coach in his mid-30s who's crushing it and says, yeah, it's too much stress for me. I want to step back and have a life. You chose coaching? You want a life and you chose coaching? Yeah, broadcasting's a nice life, but it's boring, doesn't pay half as much. I think McVay, LeBron's done this in his career. I think McVay feels at times a little underappreciated. And frankly, he may be. He basically energized the franchise. So they moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles. Jeff Fisher's teams were bad and boring. Jared Goff was a bust. They had a 12-year playoff drought, and they were unwatchable. And McVay wins a Super Bowl, has gotten them to 2 with 2 different quarterbacks, saved the entire business. Remember, the stadium was a cost overrun. They got to make money on this thing. That stadium cost double what they wanted it to. They got to fill that stadium and sell beer and get parking. That thing cost $8 billion. They thought it cost $4 billion. Or maybe it was 7 and 3.5. I forget the numbers. It was a way big cost overrun. And they need exciting football and winning football. And they were a boring, ugly, unwatchable mess. And McVay saved them. In L.A., a distracted and jammed market. And now the 4th biggest economy in the world, just surpassed Germany. California is. They had a lot of money here. When you win, baby, you win big here. You win in Cincinnati, congrats. Free chili. You win in Los Angeles, everybody gets uber rich. California has distanced itself from the country's economy. And McVay saved the most popular sport. He saved the quarterback. He saved the franchise. It was a boring, unwatchable mess. And I think he wants a little more power, a little more say in personnel. He looks at Kyle Shanahan's roster and says, come on, man, they got 9 of the best 15 players if we play tomorrow. Maybe 9 of 12. Aaron Donald's getting old. Cooper Kupp is hurt. Stafford's banged up. And McVay, also, there's stories out today, he has told his staff, go looking for work. What does that tell you? He wants to make changes on the staff, but he doesn't want to fire anybody. So if you're on a roster or a team or a staff, it could be this show, it could be a team, it could be a political office. Everybody knows who's tight with the boss and everybody knows who's not. So when McVay tells his staff, you can look for work, what he's basically saying is to the 3 and 4 coaches he would fire, get another job. He doesn't want to fire them. So I tend to think there's always a story behind the story. You know, I tell the story years and years ago. When I was a little kid, my dad took me to watch the Harlem Globetrotters. But I lived in a small town, and we didn't really get the Harlem Globetrotters. We got like the B or C team. And so my dad had this big Buick Riviera, and we showed up late, and there was no parking. It was in a town called Hoquiam, Washington. And we pulled into a weird parking spot, and we had to walk through an alley. And when we walked through the alley, there were the Harlem Globetrotters, smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. And from that moment on in my broadcasting life, I wasn't interested in the story you saw. I was interested in the story behind the story. As we walked into that gym, it was full, and everybody cheered the team. I just saw him knocking down a Miller Lite, smoking cancer rockets. So to me, I look at this, and I think to myself, come on, man. Story's never this simple. 35-year-old, 36-year-old Sean McVay is burnt out. He chose coaching. This guy's one of the smartest football coaches on the planet. He can name his job in America. And Sean Payton's just sitting waiting in the wings to take it. I mean, people can say what they want, but if you leave, you'd rather the team hire somebody less talented than you. And Payton, not a lot of people more talented than him. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe McVay's burned out. Maybe he wants to broadcast. Sean, trust me on this. It's not as much fun as coaching. Coaching's being a rock star in sports. Everybody wants the mic and to be in front. McVay's an icon. He's smart. But I think sometimes we've got to realize in Los Angeles, stadium's a cost overrun. They're playing at the Coliseum. Goff's a bust. Team's unwatchable. I remember that first game. Dak ever played at the Coliseum? It was Rams and it was Cowboys, and that crowd was about 90% Cowboy fans. Okay? The Chargers are still struggling, trying to get their fans in the building. NFL was gone for 20 years in this market or more. McVay saved it. You go Fisher to another miss, you're reeling. A little more say, a little more power, a little more personnel say. I think he's frustrated, doesn't want to fire coaches, wants big changes, wants more say. That is my gut feeling. That's all I'm saying. Capable quarterbacks off ugly losses. So I think Dallas buttons it up. Super focused, getting ripped all week in Dallas by the media, comes out, plays a great football game, and beats an anemic offense with the Buccaneers, which is good. You know, when they hurry up offense, they're not bad. The rest of the game, they're awful. So, but what if Dallas loses? Oh, last year. Oh, that 17 seconds, middle of the field. Ooh, Dak slides, season over. McCarthy's a bum. Jerry says, no, win or lose, Mike McCarthy's my guy.
No, that's it. I don't need to go into all the pluses or minuses, but I've got a lot more to evaluate Mike McCarthy on than this playoff game. I can't tell you how much confidence I've got in Mike and our coaching staff of being on top of where we are with this team right now.
So Jerry, for a change, is ending the drama. He's not starting it. The Cowboys are teetering a little. That was really bad against Washington. This thing is kind of teetering. And Jerry says, nope. Mike McCarthy's coming back. But Mike McCarthy, if you do a deep dive on Jerry and his DNA, is perfect. Mike McCarthy wins enough, about 60% of his games. Mike McCarthy doesn't want personnel power. Mike McCarthy would rather be behind the scenes, not in front of the mic. He's not terribly comfortable at the podium. But most of all, Mike needed Jerry. He needed to be saved. Remember that silly narrative? He was down in his basement watching all the plays. He later admitted he lied. Jerry fired the very powerful Tom Landry, a man of religious conviction that didn't need anybody. It ended poorly for Parcells and Jimmy Johnson. They didn't need saving either. Alphas. Jerry Jones likes to be necessary. It's a really important thing. Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy, that's why he struggled to get rid of Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett got fired. He didn't have a lot of job offers. He needed Jerry. Mike McCarthy, in his basement working on analytics, needed Jerry. And Jerry likes that. And I don't think Dallas, if they do lose, is going to get rolled or humiliated. Tampa can't run the football. Brady's going to have to throw 45 times. Outside of that game against, I think it was Carolina, when Carolina was using backup corners and Mike Evans exploded, they can't move the ball consistently. And Dallas has a good defense. I think it's pretty low scoring and Dallas wins. But if they lose, it'll be close, not humiliating. They won't get drubbed, I don't think. But this season's really actually been more about Dak. Dak has struggled. My staff looked it up this morning. If you go to Dak's career pre-Amari Cooper, wide receiver, and post-Amari Cooper this year, Dak's passer rating is 92. He's average. With Amari Cooper, it's in the hundreds. So what did Dak need this year as he struggled? Ask yourself, what has Dak needed this year as he struggled? The support of Jerry. Dak needs Jerry's support. McCarthy needs Jerry. Jason Garrett needs Jerry. Right? Jerry likes to save, and Jerry likes to discover. He found Tony Romo. He found Dak in the fourth round. Jerry likes that. Jerry likes to be necessary and needed and save and protect. And you know who doesn't need protection? Sean Payton. That's why I've never thought he fits here. He doesn't need to be saved. Bill Parcells doesn't need to be saved. Jimmy Johnson doesn't need to be protected. Nobody discovered Jimmy Johnson. Maybe Jerry thought he was discovering Jimmy Johnson, but he got tired of it because Jimmy didn't need Jerry to have a great life and a great career. So when McCarthy loses in the playoffs, and I imagine he will eventually, though I don't think it's this week, he's safe. Jerry is necessary for Mike McCarthy, and Jerry likes that role. It's who he is. So this one's interesting. We live in Los Angeles, although it feels like Seattle this week.